FBI Special Agent Hostage Negotiator, Christopher Voss.
My role as a hostage negotiator was to connect authentically with the victim, the victim's family, and with the hostage taker. Everybody really deserves to have somebody hear what they have to say. Tactical empathy, negotiation secrets from an FBI hostage negotiator. Happy to be here with you guys today at AppSmart. Let's see what this is all about. So, what is a hostage negotiator? A hostage negotiator is the ultimate cold calling salesman. I'm calling somebody on the phone who doesn't really want to talk to me. And what did I sell? Jail sentences. And I had buyers. You know what the close rate is for hostage negotiators? About 93%. Now, the stuff that I'm going to talk to you today, we're going to talk in terms of percentages. I happen to live in Las Vegas, so I'll use that analogy a number of times. Tactical empathy is there's no guarantee of success. There's no guarantee of success with anything. And anybody that tells you otherwise that they're guaranteeing success is wrong. What the tactical empathy secrets of hostage negotiators applied to business are, what it does guarantee you is your best chance of success and increasing your percentage of win rates, your percentage of long-term relationships, which create long-term prosperity. So let's dig into this a little bit more. After my New York days, I was the FBI lead international kidnapping negotiator. What does that mean? What that means is that I handled creating the negotiation strategies for any American kidnapped anywhere in the world. Now, you might ask yourself, how often is the FBI's lead international kidnapping negotiator busy? Well, it's a big world, and there are a lot of Americans doing stupid stuff. So, on any given day, still today, on any given day, there are anywhere from 1 to 4 Americans that are being held somewhere in the world. Now, how do you become an international kidnapping negotiator with the FBI? Well, first you get trained as a hostage negotiator. You spend a few years doing basically the hostage negotiation stuff that we do domestically, and then you get invited, it's by invitation only, to the training, the Critical Incident Negotiation Team Training, CINT, federal alphabet. Everybody likes those acronyms. And I can remember when I got invited to that training, I was thinking like, wow, they're going to teach me the secret handshakes, the magic spells. How can I, make my case better, if you will? And I remember sitting there in the training, and a friend of mine, Dennis, who was a good friend, we were trained together, and a mentor, said in any given country that you go into, there's going to be an expected opening demand. There's going to be an expected percentage that they're going to settle on, and there's going to be an expected length of time that they're planning on the kidnapping lasting. I don't know what's going through your mind, but back then I remember thinking like, this is a market. And I remember just being hit between the eyes with that, because I never thought I would be bargaining in a commodity market where the commodity was human beings. But that's the issue with negotiation in any given situation you're in. It's not about what it is to you, because to me, it was a horrific event. There were families, lives on the line, the hopes and dreams of the future if it was a child, cherished memories of the past, or if it was a brother, or if it was a father. Hopes and dreams, horrific event. To the other side, it's another day of work. It's their job. And getting out of my own way and seeing what it is from the other side was a critical critical aspect of gaining the upper hand in a negotiation. Secret to gaining the upper hand in a negotiation is giving the other side the illusion of control. And those of you that are listening to me right now, if you like control, boy, I'd love to negotiate against you, because I got you. All I got to do is make you feel like you're in control. I can do whatever I want because you're going to drop your guard. That was the key to negotiations with the kidnappers and really the key to negotiations everywhere as well. Now, recently I've learned more and more about how hostage negotiation fits into daily life because I told you before the kidnappers had an expected demand, expected percentage, expected time. As a neuroscientist that I'm listening to these days called Andrew Huberman, because hostage negotiations just applied neuroscience. Huberman's a neuroscientist out of Stanford, and he says people everywhere think in terms of duration, path, and outcome. Where do I want to be? How am I going to get there? How long it's going to take me to get there? Duration, path, and outcome. It's exactly what kidnappers are thinking about. That's exactly what the people that you're interacting with are thinking: duration, path, and outcome. Now, what you're going to do is safely accelerate that duration, and they're not going to know it, and you're going to take them to a new outcome that they're going to be delighted by. Let's talk about this a little bit more. Let's go back to the business model. I'm going to tell you about a kidnapping in Haiti that I worked. Now, I told you before they were in business. To them, it's a job. What the job? What the business? What are the industry? What did the market look like in Haiti? Well, they had a business model that I was really impressed with. Carjack a car with more than one person in it. Let one of those people go. You've immediately handled your marketing issues. You don't go to market now. They knew each other well enough to be in a car together. You let one of them go. The one you let go is going to run to the family and say, hey, Billy's been kidnapped. So you don't have any marketing issues with this business model. What's the next thing about this business model that works really well? Well, you've pre-qualified your customer. If they got money for car and gas in Haiti at the time, and Haiti's still a very poor country, but if they got money for car and gas, they got money for ransom. Heck, if they got money for gas, they got money for ransom. Now, what's the last part of this model that's absolutely brilliant? What happens if you kidnap the one person in that family that nobody likes? You still got a car. You're going to get paid. This is a great business model. I really admired what these guys were doing. They're in business. And it's my job to understand that and relate to them on their level. Again, you guys hear this cliche all the time. It's not about you. What does it look like to the other side? So let me tell you about a kidnapping I worked in Haiti. 12-year-old boy gets grabbed in a carjacking. He's an American citizen. He's the only American in that family. He's a dual national. And how does this happen? Well, understanding the market on the other side, two issues. Number one, in all markets globally, all of them, they don't like grabbing Americans. If they did, they lose their appetite for it. They want to grab locals, and they're grabbing Americans by accident, dual nationals. Why don't you want to grab an American? I thought Americans had great big giant dollar signs on them, great big price tag. Well, if you're in business and you grab, if you're in this business and you grab an American, and pretty soon Uncle Sam shows up and wants to begin to interfere in your business. And what business likes more government regulation? You only want the local regulation. You understand those rules. So that's why you want to grab a local. So how are they dual nationals? Well, I don't know how many of you listening to me right now, American citizens, or for sure how you got your citizenship. But my guess is the majority of you got it the same way I did. You were born here. The US, it used to be argued, is one of only two developed nations in the world that gives citizenship by birth. It's not common globally at all. It's not a residue of English common law, having been a former English colony. No, it's not that way in England. It's not that way in Australia. It's not that way anywhere in Europe. Citizenship, because you were born in that country, they think that's a laugh. As it turns out, the two developed nations in the world classified as developed are the US and Canada. What it really turns out is it's an idea of the Americas. Most of the countries in North and South America, you have the right of the soil. Jus soli is the Latin term, which I just butchered. But they believe that if you were born on that soil, you're entitled to citizenship. And that's how this 12-year-old boy is the only American citizen in his family. Now, his father, who's not a citizen, knows that his son is. He goes to the U.S. government for help, and the U.S. government says the FBI is going to be there to help you. So I don't know what you would imagine if you were told that the FBI was going to help you, but I can imagine it's probably something to this effect. These guys that show up at your front door 15 minutes after you were told the FBI was going to be there. And maybe, just in case to prove they're FBI agents, they got on little FBI hats. But instead of these two guys showing up at his front door 15 minutes later, he gets a call on a phone from some guy named Chris Voss in Washington, D.C. Says he's going to help. And he literally says to me on the phone, "You're in Washington, D.C. How you going to help me?" Now, you're listening to me right now. Put yourself in my place. What would you say? How long before this guy hangs up the phone? What do you say? How much time do I have? Now let's flip it on you even more. How many people that you interact with on a regular basis say this exact same thing to themselves about you when you open a conversation with them, when you're selling, when you have a product for them? How are you going to help me? I guarantee you every one of them is saying that to themselves. How much time do you have to make that question go away? How much time do you have before they figuratively hang up on you, if not literally, the way this father was going to hang up on me? I would invite you to look up the data after we get off of the keynote, after you get out of this. How long do you have to make a first impression? 7 to 10 seconds. 7 to 10 seconds. How long did I have with his father? 7 to 10 seconds. Okay, cool. 7 to 10 seconds. Start pitching, right? Now, is that going to work with his father? Make your case. Explain why you're there. Ronald Reagan said, if you're explaining, you're losing. What do you have to do in that 7 to 10 seconds? What do you have to establish? Check the data. It's exactly the same that I had to establish with his father in Haiti. Trust and competency. Trust and competency. 7 to 10 seconds. Now, it's not confidence. There's a difference between competence and confidence. I would ask you this. Would you rather have a confident plumber or a competent plumber? Yeah, competent and trust. All right, so how do you do that in 7 to 10 seconds? Lay out your resume. I'll tell you how I did it wrong. In a kidnapping, I'm going to tell you about it in a little bit before we get done together today. I walk into a kidnapping and to see the government in the Philippines. An American named Jeff Schilling has been kidnapped. I get called in, asked for by name. The U.S. ambassador to the Philippines has gone to the Philippine government and said, we want to bring our best guy in, Chris Voss. I recommend that you meet with Chris Voss. The U.S. ambassador has mentioned me by name because the head of the FBI in Manila has gone to him and said, we need Chris Voss. Why am I telling you they asked for me by name? It's a warm introduction. This is not exactly a cold call. This is a warm call. They've been told I'm the man. I get walked into a room where the heads of the governments are there. The Secretary of Defense is there. The head of the police is there. Police is a national police agency, so the head of the police is a cabinet level position. The only reason the president is not there is the president's personal advisor is. And in sum and substance, they say, how are you going to help us? I think this is my opportunity to trot out my resume. Of course. FBI lead international kidnapping negotiator, Joint Terrorist Task Force for 14 years in New York City. You guys are up against terrorists here, right? I was on a Joint Terrorist Task Force for 14 years. I won the Attorney General's Award for excellence in law enforcement based on my work in terrorism. I also won the FBI Agents Association's award for distinguished and exemplary service. And now I'm at Quantico, where not only am I teaching the book on kidnapping, I literally actually wrote the book. I can tell you that when I laid my resume out, they were suitably unimpressed. They may as well have yawned right in my face. Why is that? You guys already know why that is. A resume correlates loosely with whether or not somebody knows what's going on, if somebody knows what the challenges are. So having done it the wrong way in the past, when his father said to me, "How you gonna help me?" Here's what I said. All right, Haitian kidnappers are not killing kidnapped victims these days. I realize that's really stupid because they kill each other at the drop of a hat, but for whatever reason, they're not killing kidnapped victims. Now, today is Thursday, and Haitian kidnappers love to party on Saturday night. If you say the things I want you to say, when I want you to say them, we'll have your son out late Friday or early Saturday morning. And he said to me, "Tell me what you want me to do." What did I do in that 7 to 10 seconds? By the way, my description of his market to him and the challenges that he was up against took less time than it took for me to outline my resume. What I did was establish trust-based influence by saying to him, here's what you're up against. All the people that you are interacting with want to know that you have some grasp of their challenges. I don't care how much I like you. I don't care how much, whether or not our kids went to school. I don't care if you like baseball or football or the New York Giants. None of that tells me whether or not you have any idea of what my challenges are. Here's what I'm counseling each and every one of you to start out with. Here's what you're up against and outline it. Now, what you're driving for is for them to say, that's right. And we're going to get into why that's right are the magic words. But here's why you won't do this. Actually, there's a couple reasons. First of all, you got a pitch. You've been working hard on that pitch. You want to explain your value proposition in 30 seconds or less. The elevator pitch, right? Reagan said, if you're explaining, you're losing. If you're explaining your value, you're losing. What's the difference between setting out the challenges? I get pitched all the time. I'm getting pitched for business opportunity in Brazil right now. And I'm going to go back to this company and say, what are the challenges of the environment? Do you have any idea what we're up against down there? Because if you don't, I have no intention of doing business with you. I am not interested in being in business with, being advised by, or buying from anyone that doesn't understand my challenges. If they're not prepared to say to me, here's what you're up against. So number one, you don't want to do this because you got an elevator pitch you want to give. You got a whole sales pitch. What's the second reason you're scared of doing this? You're afraid of being wrong. You're afraid of being corrected. You're horrified of being corrected. It's embarrassing. It's humiliating to be corrected. What I say from the beginning, it's not about you. You'd actually rather die than be embarrassed. There are no shortage of surveys globally where people prefer death to embarrassment. That's the reason there's a phrase, I thought I'd die of embarrassment. That's how horrible it is. Isn't it horrible for them when you're embarrassed? No, here's what it is for them. It's correction. They're helping you. People love to correct. It's an addiction. Every time they correct you, they're helping you and they're bonding with you. This is such a powerful emotional intelligence hack that we train people to periodically get corrected on purpose because the other side's going to love it so much. And they're going to blurt stuff out to you that they would never want to blurt with. I'm counseling you to pivot from being a know-it-all where you know all the answers to being a discover-it-all where you collaborate with them over their environment, and they are not going to collaborate with you unless you begin to demonstrate an understanding and then be willing to take their corrections. Show them you're actually listening to them instead of making your pitch your value proposition. Because, first of all, no matter how accurate and good your value proposition is, you don't know which side jumps out at them. And that's one of the most important things to find out right away. What about you is valuable to them? And your acumen for the market is one of the most valuable things, because if you understand the market, or if you're willing to be dialed into it, the chances are that you'll come up with answers to the market are much, much higher. Now, here's one that I hope hurts your head. I want this to be a shocking thought. Your number one trust eroder with the other side is when you try to get them to say yes. Think about when I was talking with that father. How many times did I try to get that father to say yes? Not once. What's wrong with yes? It's always a hook. Everybody that conned them started out by getting them to say yes. Would you like to make more money? Would you like to have a better life? Would you like to stay in five-star accommodations, luxury accommodations around the world whenever you feel like it? That's the timeshare industry, isn't it? How many people are trying to get out of timeshares? Now, you may not be conning people with yes. The problem is they're already yes battered. There's something out there called momentum selling, or the yes momentum, where it says each time you get a yes out of somebody, it's a micro commitment or a tie down. And after 3 micro commitments, you hit them with the big ask and you got them, and they can't get away. They have to say yes. And so many people are seduced by this. They said, yeah, I want to tie them down, micro commitments. Well, the problem is again, you may not be leading them into a trap, but somebody else that was leading them into a trap did this, and they're yes battered. I'll give you an analogy. If you study neuroscience and human relations, you know that it's actually healthy to give somebody a hug. People who get hugged regularly, warm embraces are actually physically better for you. All right, so what happens if you try to go hug a battered child because you know a hug is good for them? The last adult that raised their arms to them beat them. And when you raise your arms to them, they're going to flinch. And that's the problem with the yes momentum with people who are being yes battered. And the minute you get out of it, the minute you get out of it, you stop engaging in a behavior that the people that conned them in the past and the people that are going to con them in the future are going to do. And I'll give you an example, because all of you listening to me right now are yes battered. I'll prove it. How do you feel when you pick up the phone and a voice on the other end of the phone says, have you got a few minutes to talk? Be honest with yourself. What's going through your gut instinct when somebody says that? Do you go, yes, oh my God, yes, thank God you called? Oh, it feels so good to say yes. Yeah, what else do you want me to say yes to? No, no. You ask yourself, wait a minute. Where's this going? How long is a few minutes? If I want to talk to you, how do I know I want to talk about what you want to talk about? If I want to talk to you and I want to talk about what you want to talk about, how do I get off the phone? A few minutes. I got a friend of mine, when he calls and asks for a few minutes, is 45. A few minutes? Think of how problematic that one yes answer is. And in point of fact, it's all the yes answers. Whenever you're trying to get somebody to say yes, it feels good to you to hear yes. I'll say this 1,000 times. What's going on with the other side when somebody tries to get a yes out of them? It's not about you. The ultimate rule of human behavior, right? To understand what's going on with the other side. Some of you right now are saying to yourselves, I make deals all the time using yes. I make deals. You can't tell me that I don't make deals. Yeah, you do. You're in Vegas and you're playing at a 10% win table. And look at these pretty shiny lights, all built on people that are playing at the low percentage win tables. My job is to get you off of that table and get you to the 80% win table, or the hostage negotiator's 93% win table. Whatever win table there is with tactical empathy, as soon as you get out of the yes momentum, it is higher than the lower percentage win table. I want to get you on a higher win rate. You get on the higher win rate when you start triggering that's right from the other side. That's right. We're going to talk about neuroscience. I mentioned neuroscience earlier. What happens when somebody says that's right? That's right. Every time you say it triggers an epiphany of some degree in the other side. That's right is what people say when they believe that what they've just heard is the complete truth, and or it's given them an insight. What happens when they have that sort of insight, that epiphany feeling, or the feeling of the complete truth? They actually get a hit of a drug that each of us produces called oxytocin. And oxytocin is the bonding drug. Every time you trigger that's right out of somebody, they begin to bond with you. This is not a two-way bonding experience. This is them bonding with you. Oxytocin is what a mother gets a full dose of the moment she lays her eyes on her newborn child. It's what a father gets a full dose of. When I saw my son, when I walked into the hospital, I saw him for the first time, I was done. I was finished. I was in love with that kid forever. It's oxytocin. I'm bonded to him. Now, was he bonded to me when he saw me? No, he probably blinked a couple times and thought to himself, maybe he's even thinking like, yeah, this looks like an interesting guy. He's got kind of a dopey look on his face, so I can't figure him out. But at least he doesn't look threatening. That's this whole oxytocin dynamic of getting the other side to bond with you. You still stay in control of what you're doing. You're building trust-based influence, which is the most durable and lasting type of influence there is. Now, what happens? And you've got to understand the difference. What happens when somebody says you're right versus that's right? Isn't it you're right good? Don't I want to hear somebody say to me, you're right? Well, here's what happens when somebody says you're right. And you guys have done this. Let's see, today, what day is this? I think this is, I don't even remember what day it is, Tuesday or Wednesday. It's the pandemic for you. Before the week is out, you're going to say you're right 3 times to several different people. And what are you going to say to them in order to accomplish? Because they're pitching you, their colleague, their significant other, their boss. There's somebody you want to maintain a relationship with, but you just want them to stop talking. You're right is code for please, I can't take it anymore. I love you, but I can't take it anymore. Please, please, please stop talking. And when you look at this person and you say you're right to them, they're going to get a happy smile on their face. They're going to stop talking. They're going to go away. That's what the difference between you're right and that's right is. Let me give you a quick example of a case that I was talking about earlier in the Philippines, because the eternal question is, does empathy work on sociopaths? And this is the American that I was telling you about before that was in the wrong place at the wrong time doing stupid stuff. And this is a sociopath that's got him. This is a bad to the bone, literal murdering, raping serial killer, sociopath. And this is a negotiator I coached. I was really an international negotiation coach. I know negotiations. I can coach you. You know your market. I know human behavior. This guy was in the back of the room that I was telling you about before when they said, how do you want to help? How are you going to help us? Now, we go back and forth on this kidnapping for a long time. They're not asking for ransom for the American. They're asking for war damages for 500 years of oppression in the south of the Philippines, from the Spanish to the Japanese to the Americans. 500 years of heartache. And right now you're saying to yourself, Wow, this is another reason why hostage negotiation doesn't apply to me, because I was never in a discussion where they were bringing up stuff from the past that was no longer relevant. Oh, wait a minute, that's every discussion people have. Now, we went back and forth for the longest time trying to make our case. Well, this American didn't have anything to do with what the Spanish did to him 500 years ago. And finally, we decided to hit the reset switch. We said, we're going to get a that's right out of the terrorists today. We're going to stop pitching. We're going to get a that's right. We're going to express the situation from his point of view, which is all the stuff we want to deny. That's the key. The stuff you want to say, I don't want you to think. Instead, we say, I know you think. And our negotiator went, you want war damages for 500 years of oppression, from the Spanish to the Japanese to the Americans. And then he recounted in great excruciating detail the 500 years of offenses, leaving no stone unturned, even adding stuff onto it. Because if you're not laying it on thick, you're not laying it on thick enough. The stuff you want to deny, the stuff you don't want them to think, the stuff you're afraid of, lay it out. And after laying this out extensively, there was a moment of silence on the phone. And the terrorist literally said, that's right. And the ransom demand went away. Case took a couple more twists and turns, and on Monday, Thursday, the Thursday before Easter, our hostage walked away, just walked away. We flew him out of there. They held a press conference, claimed they rescued him. We sent him back to the United States. I was back in the Philippines 3 weeks later with the negotiator that I was coaching. He said, you're not going to believe who called me on the phone. I don't know who called you on the phone. The terrorist. What did he say? He said, have you been promoted yet? I don't know what it was that you said to me on the phone, but they should promote you. What did he do in that moment? He's a guy who got nothing. That's right. Triggered him after he lost everything. And he said, I would deal with you again. I felt respected by you. We're good. Your job is to leave everybody feeling like that after your interactions, because that's the key to long-term relationships, recurring business, referrals. That's right, is the key to your long-term health. We're going to go to a Q&A in a moment, but I wanted to throw out to you, if and only if you want more from me, if and only if you want more from my company, after the book, subscribe to our newsletter. It's free. I had a friend in the FBI used to like say, if it's free, I'll take 3. Send a text, Black Swan method. It's not case sensitive. You need spaces between it. Send the text to 33777, 33777. Newsletter comes out Tuesday morning. The fact that it's free doesn't matter. The fact that it's concise and actionable is what matters.
Did have some questions come in from the team monitoring the chat and also picking some stuff up on social. One of the things that you talked about in your presentation today, and I've also heard you, I think it was with Jordan Belfort, you were talking about timing, right? So a common myth in sales, maybe a myth, you can bust it, is time kills all deals. In some cases, you have to go slow to go fast. Maybe talk a little bit about timing. Are there times or triggers you look for to accelerate and triggers that you really decelerate and draw things out?
Right. Yeah. Well, I want to know what that timeline is. Like,
Okay.
and it's going to be triggered. Like Haitians love to party on Saturday night. Actually, criminal kidnappers globally want to party on Saturday night. Doesn't matter what country they're in, because people love to party on Saturday night.
I think some of the people watching this Zoom want to party on Saturday night.
Right. Exactly. Right. Exactly.
Right.
So, understanding what the other side's timing triggers are.
Yeah.
Like, and early in the day, they're not going to make a deal.
Yeah.
The real issue is the internal timing is how hard have they worked for the deal.
Gotcha.
So you're going to use tactical empathy to actually accelerate your time frame. The hostage negotiation skills that hostage negotiators use, tactical empathy for business, it's not just our close rate, but it's also the fact that we use tactical empathy to accelerate the time frame so we could get to a deal quicker by making the other side feel like they worked hard for it
Yep.
and that they were understood. They're striving to be understood. They're not going to make the deal until they feel like you understand them and their challenges. So make them feel it sooner. That's the whole idea of a that's right, getting the that's right out of them, demonstrating the understanding. Now, there's going to be some predictable triggers. Everybody's got quarterly goals. Everybody's
Yes.
got quarterly goals. But that, that's a broad thing. I mean, first of all, what holidays are coming up?
Yes.
Secondly, what kind of heat are they getting from their significant other?
Yes. Yes.
What's going on in their personal life? Those are completely separate from quarterly goals. When you start pinging them with your understanding of their environment, what you're going to get out of them is what you missed. They're going to tell you because they're correcting you.
Right. So
And that's how you find those secrets.
is it fair? I heard, it might even been you, that people are working towards the end of. So end of the hour, end of the day, end of the week, end of the quarter, end of the month, working towards a holiday goal. Do you want to be wrong in that ask to say, we want to wrap this up by the end of the quarter, and let them say, no, I'd like to have it done by the end of the week, or say by the end of the year? So do you go long and see if they go short? Is there a practical tactic you use there?
Here's a practical tactic. And it's not asking a question, it's triggering information by making an observation.
Okay.
And I would say, seems like you got a time frame you're working against. Seems like you want to get it done by the end of the month. Seems like you're under some quarterly time pressure. Now that's an observation, not a question.
Yes.
It's actually called a label. It's specifically designed to bypass the prefrontal cortex, which is a traffic cop part of the brain, tap into their stream of consciousness and get them to respond with stream of consciousness. The people that we've taught this to, and it just takes some practice, refer to labels as the tools that unlock the floodgates of truth telling.
Gotcha.
Again, it's a percentage increase in how honest they are.
Yeah, I think that the folks watching this right now and listening to it later on replay, I'm going to plug your book, but you've got to grab the book. You got to subscribe to the newsletter, because you talk a lot about labeling, and it's a great framework. Is there a mistake? I'm watching things come up here. Is there a mistake that you think is the biggest mistake you see amateurs make when negotiating? Is there a one thing for you that you're like, oh, that's a knucklehead move?
All right. So the first knucklehead move is going for yes.
Gotcha.
Because you're going to trigger them.
Yep.
The second one is, if you're talking more than they're talking, he or she who talks most loses. And when you're pitching, you're talking. So you're not learning, you're not gathering anything. Plus, the other side doesn't feel listened to. They want to feel listened to. Everybody's got the voice in their head that says, you should talk at least twice as, or you should listen at least twice as much as you talk, because you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Well, I'm here to tell you it's 5 times as much, because you got 2 ears, 2 eyes, and a nose. And you want to start picking up data from them on all those levels. And so the more they're talking, the more you're learning.
Yes.
The more you're refining your value proposition, and the more you're understanding their timeline, and you're becoming more valuable every step of the way. So the biggest mistake that amateurs make is talking too much.
Yeah, you're right. I think one of the things that came up, I won't read the question, but it talks about habits that salespeople are taught. And you address some of them even in your keynote, which is, all these books out there, Getting the Yes and Secret to the Close. They're all yes focused versus reframing it a different way to get the prospect or the counter negotiator, right? Your counterpart open up. One of the things, another thing that I picked up from you is this 7 seconds. And you're creating, is there something that you, like a timer that you have in your head where you're on the clock? So you have 7 seconds, or you have 4 seconds. You're choosing your words, and then you know when to release. Is there a trick you use so you don't overtalk a moment?
Yeah, I have a tendency. I worked at and practiced natural hesitation in my pitches, Because in those moments, the natural hesitation, which is a moment, is actually 1 to 3 seconds. I got that data from the Gallup organization a long time ago. They got all sorts of human
Yeah, yeah,
nature data.
yeah.
1 to 3 seconds. Your occasional pauses, if you can't see them, gives you an opportunity to just get a sound check real quick. Do you hear them sort of breathe in like they want to talk? Do you get silence from the other side? There's a constant stream of data coming off the other side, even if you can only hear them.
Yes.
So I'm hesitating on a regular basis. If I can see them, I'm watching. I'm gathering data with my eyes. And then I'm going to be in the moment and I'm going to gauge it. Now, I'm not going to talk for long at all to start off with. If I get done with that Haiti description with Dad. That didn't take long. If I'm going more than 15, 20 seconds at a time, I'm probably talking too much. Look up the data on attention spans of people on the other side. You probably got about that much. You need to go silent to show them that you're there to listen.
For sure. Yeah, that quick pause I think is great. Someone once told me pretend like you're holding a burning match and it takes
Uh,
about 5 seconds, 7 seconds for the flame to hit your fingers. So as soon as you're
I like
burnt,
that.
you stop or you're on fire, right? Um,
Yeah.
right? No one wants to get burnt. So let's have some fun for a couple minutes. I've heard you, I think it was on Roland Fraser, you guys bantered back and forth about ways you negotiate in real life, restaurants, hotels. Um, is there a particular way you like to negotiate just in your real life, whether it's for a new car or for an upgrade at a hotel?
Yeah, I got to tell you something. We call it a cold read, but I know how the brain works neuroscience wise. I know that they're worried about me when I come walking up. So I actually overstate it. My typical is I'm getting ready to ruin your day.
Yeah.
Now they're going to go someplace horrible. So that whatever I ask for is going to be better and they're going to be delighted to give it to me. I mean,
Yes.
the other night I'm out on a first date with this very pretty girl. Reservation in a steakhouse. They walk us by these magnificent tables and walk us into the back at that lousy, cheap seats.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm look like a dope, first date. Like I can't do this. So they walk us up to this table, and plus I can't look like an argumentative jerk.
Right.
I'm in a
Yeah.
tough spot. So I just look at the waitress. And it wasn't even the waitress yet, the lady that's sitting us down. Now she's got us on a assigned table, but this is assigned seating.
Yeah.
And I look at her and I say, I'm getting ready to be the most horrible customer that's been in here tonight. And I say, I let her get crestfallen. I don't know what she's thinking. She's thinking like, maybe I'm allergic to everything. Who knows what she's
Right.
thinking?
Right.
But I say, I don't want to sit here. I want to sit at that table that we walked by just by. It's just a moment ago. It's got the best view of the entire restaurant. She doesn't even check. She walks us right over to it, delighted and happy.
Because
We
it's
sit
easy.
right
She's
down.
expecting the worst.
She's
Right.
expecting the worst, and normally they got to check, right? She don't care. Bill Clinton could be coming in sitting at that table. She's just giving it to me. And we sit down. I look like a superstar to my date. I made it look easy. So, I mean, that's the way I start these negotiations out.
That's amazing. I had someone just chat in that said, "What's your favorite question that leads to a that's right response?"
Yeah, it's not a question, it's a statement.
Okay.
I'll start laying out how I see things from their perspective, what their
Okay.
perspective is. Now, I'm either going to be on track or they're going to correct me. And then I'm going to start to get it right. And then I'm going to think, like, how is this to them really? What makes them see it this way? What in their helping nature makes them see it like this that nobody probably has ever discovered? And based on it, if I can throw that out, if I can hit something that's a good attribute, because everybody's got, you and I were talking before, people are basically good.
Yes.
I'm going to pick up what it is about them that matters to them, and then I'm going to feed it back to them. And nobody else has seen that. Everybody's ignoring it. They've forgotten
Yes.
it's there. And that's where I'm really getting a relationship that's going to accelerate everything.
Awesome. And I know there's one other thing that I want to sort of tease apart for maybe a minute is the how am I supposed to do that? Right?
Yeah.
So we that maybe talk to the folks on the at Unleashed today about the how am I supposed to do that? The maybe 10 seconds on leading up to it and then why you use it or why we would use it.
Yeah. How am I supposed to do that is, first of all, the first way we say no. We like to say we let out no a little at a time. And I don't want you to get caught off guard with a no, that no, this won't work. And how
Yeah.
am I supposed to do that actually begins to trigger that feeling. Now, I say it really deferentially because it also exhibits a desire to collaborate. And I want that. I mean, I'm getting a three for here. I'm letting out no, I'm expressing a desire to collaborate.
Yes.
Plus, I'm making them look at things from my perspective. It actually does something called forced empathy. My son labeled it this: forced empathy. I need them to look at my position. And it's an implementation question. Like, if the implementation is impossible, if I say, how am I supposed to do that? They're not going to have an answer, but they're not going to feel backed into a corner by it. So it hits them on so many emotionally smart levels that it's a great response when you want to collaborate with someone, but what's on the table just won't work.
So you mentioned how people can reach out to you. We have an international audience. So the next thing that just came up is, do you take international assignments? An international man of mystery. Do does the team does the team work internationally?
Yeah, we do. You know what?
Okay.
And that Texas sign up thing won't work outside of the country, outside of the US.
Okay.
And that's why I put the Black Swan website up there, blackswanltd.com.
Amazing.
And in today's COVID, yeah, we are coaching and training people all over the world. You know, the Zoom has actually extended our reach. We ran an event just the other day, actually a month ago, with people in Australia getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to sign on. So yeah, we're all over the world. The book is in every language on earth.
Yeah. It's great.
Every
It's an amazing
hostage
book.
negotiation team uses the same skills. Whatever country you're in, this stuff works.
Yeah, it's an amazing book. I hope everybody goes out and gets a copy. They hook you on social. Is there a resource besides your own that you recommend? Is there a second best book? It doesn't have to be a book on negotiation, but maybe something you gift often or you recommend often.
Well, I got to tell you something. I really like this guy, Andrew Huberman, because
Okay.
he's laying out neuroscience on how the brain works.
Yes.
Like, if you just want to be healthier and happier, Huberman's stuff across the board is worth listening to. He's been on two podcasts. Lewis Howes interviews him really well. The Lewis Howes
Okay.
interviews are good,
Lewis
but
Howes
he's
are
also,
good in-depth interviews. Yes.
yeah, Lewis is good at getting stuff out of people. I listen to those, and I'm also, Huberman's got Huberman Labs. He's got
Okay.
his own podcast that I'm listening to, and it just started in January, so it wouldn't take you that long to catch up.
That's fantastic. Yeah, at AppSmart, with our advisors and even internally at our company, we're about optimization, not just business optimization, but health, family, whole life. So
Yeah.
that neuroscience is important, not just in business to understand people, but also to understand yourself, your family. So that's a great tip, Chris. I appreciate so much you joining us, even though it was on Zoom. Hopefully next time we can be live on a stage someplace.
I'd
Thanks
love
so
that.
much for everything today. It was fantastic. We really appreciate all the information you shared. And I'm sure that our community is going to connect with you on social, buy the book, and take action. Thanks again. Well, guys, Chris Voss is also a coach on Masterclass. So while I was sitting here, I received some notes in front of me that we have a surprise giveaway. So if you've never seen Masterclass, it's an amazing platform where you can learn just about anything. You can learn about auto repair. You can learn from Chris and his negotiation. If you're our good friend Joe Mardini, you can learn how to make the ultimate pizza or new sourdough bread recipe. So we want you to fill out a survey at the end of AppSmart Unleashed for your chance to register for Chris Voss is for Masterclass. And go ahead and you can dive in and see Chris's Masterclass, but also get educated on anything else you'd like to learn. Also, you heard earlier today about the digital hero from Dan Sachs. And we are taking steps towards really emphasizing and amplifying digital heroes in our community. So today I want to announce the first two honorees of AppSmart's Digital Hero Award. And they're two people right from our community. One is Ali Naru which you also saw at Unleash, and Joel St. Germain from GCG. So Joel and Ali, congratulations on being AppSmart Digital Heroes. We'll be reaching out to you shortly, and there's some press that will follow. All right, so next up, I know a lot of you reach out to us all the time about marketing. You're looking for ways to amplify and extend your marketing results. So we have an amazing session coming up around guerrilla marketing tips, tricks, tactics that you can use immediately after the session. Maybe you open your mind to something new, or maybe amplify something you're already doing. So Brian Leonard and Amelia Suarez are going to join me real quick to talk guerrilla marketing. Amelia, I'm headed your way. Stay tuned.